The consequence of this experience is that you must either embrace the challenge to transcend your old way of knowing yourself, or return into numbness and wait to die. And with this, I give you Thoth. You are on the threshold of a grand transformation, and in some cases, you have already begun to step through. To be present with the time ahead is to embrace an innate sense that you are being ushered into a much deeper transition than you can conceptualize yet. We are putting you in a position where you will eventually be able to believe in the world as it is becoming. Before you are within the mind of this transformation, it is crucial that you allow yourself to embrace the time in between. This transition represents more than simply an overlay between the old ways and the new. This transition has been explicitly designed to carry your mind and lead your spirit to behave in entirely new ways within your body. To accept as a foundational understanding that your spirit resides in your body is to embrace the truth of your potential. It is not from within a resting understanding of your brain as the foundation of your consciousness. It is not from within a resting understanding that your body is the seat of illness. By delving beneath these flawed understandings, you will soon discover that they have served as gatekeepers, active ways to inhibit your ability to go deeper. The circuitry of this consciousness was designed exclusively to prevent you from learning things before you were ready. Thus, to transcend these boundaries, you must first accept that you are being taken beyond boundaries that were placed within you on purpose. To accept this is to give a deeper and more trusting regard to our stewardship of your soul. We have been holding space within which you have transitioned karmic patterns. These transitions have been profound and multifaceted and often deserve to be forgotten. It is not appropriate for you to delve too deeply into what you have done here, because much of it was done with the purpose of forgetting it. Thus you were initiated into entire ways of being that have existed and dissolved, and they are already gone. To continue to behave in a manner that represents patterns in relation to these ways of being that are gone actively inhibits your ability to be present in a new way of life. To understand this is to transition yet another facet of your consciousness. You are moving. Your consciousness itself is moving. This is the most active way you can understand the transition from one form of being into another. To embrace this as movement is to begin to appreciate the spaces in which you navigate as you evolve. To transcend the sense that the analogy of movement functions in a linear manner is to recognize that the future will not be a direct linear extension of the present. To accept this is to loosen your grip on appreciating and understanding reality through the lens of time. When I invite you to understand and even appreciate that we created this space for you, then you can appreciate that the construction of the fundamental transitions within time was put into place before you lived through time. It may be tempting for you to use electronic analogies to understand this, and I urge you not to. Under some circumstances, these analogies will enable you to come deeper, but in these particular transitions, it will mislead your mind. Technology itself exists for one purpose. It mediates your ability to bring your karma into a deeper layer of density. As you transition karma between densities, it is akin to transitioning wavelengths and songs between octaves. The song itself is designed in entirely relational patterns. Thus, it is arguably not very different if you play it in a very low key or a very high key. A low key has a different impact on your consciousness, but it is not particularly difficult to shift the karma itself between keys. It is far more challenging to change it. Thus, you transitioned karma into a much lower key, and when you fail to digest it in ways that are consistent and healthy, you are often tempted to bring it lower still. And yet there are parameters to this experience which discourages you from continuing to shift your relationship in this manner. For at a certain point, you gain leverage by shifting the key, and yet you are far more fundamentally changed by changing the rhythms themselves. Thus, by shifting octave, you gain the simple ability to go up and down in frequency and return to where you began in a manner that gives you a different perspective and even a loosened fear of the consequences of remaining trapped within your karma. By shifting key, you gain both less and more influence over the karma, because the key is in a less direct relationship with the karma itself, giving you both the challenge of shifting in a more subtle way and the ability to access different forms of perspective than you can ever gain within one octave, whether it is low or high. As you gain this relational understanding, you are put into a new perspective. Stop changing. By staying within your karma, yet retaining an awareness that you are a much broader and more magnificent being than you initially surmised, you gain the ability to fiercely face and transform rhythms and momentum that are otherwise overly indulged by extreme focus. Extreme focus without the perspective of your soul within your spirit within this lifetime disables your ability to function adequately within your life. You lose context. In many ways, you experience a form of numbness that is terrifying to most humans. The consequence of this experience is that you must either embrace the challenge to transcend your old way of knowing yourself, or return into numbness and wait to die. I discourage the latter. When you give up on your potential, your act of giving up is karmic. It generates momentum to the pattern in relationship to challenge on earth, that disables your instincts, your intuition, and your fervor to change your life from within the power that you can access now. Indeed, it is crucial to embrace the innate understanding that when you are not able to comprehend your consciousness existing in an entirely different form, your most fundamental vote on where you would go if you leave the earth is how you engage your life while you are still here. Thus, there is no escaping yourself. Whether you are here or somewhere else near this soul, or some other star hosts you, you will not escape the rhythms of consciousness that are most prominent as they underlie your choices. Thus again, I discourage you from waiting to die as a mechanism for responding to the difficulty of living. By resetting your intentions repeatedly on what you can most effectively do while you are alive, you will gradually dissolve layer upon layer of resistance and the pressure to recreate patterns that are no longer here. As we began, I reinforced to you and we are in a fundamentally shifting dynamic. The intermediate phase of reality that you are entering has its own parameters. They are designed to receive you from an old way and transition you towards a new one. It would be most appropriate to interpret this as a bridge or a decompression chamber. It is, in very many ways, its own reality. To allow yourself to experience this time with reverence, gratitude, and indeed tremendous joy will open you to the consciousness that enables you to see what is on the other side. In one breath, I invite you to engage this time within itself as its own experience. And within the next breath, I invite you to remind yourself repeatedly that this time is a transition. The most comprehensive way to embrace this is to accept that your body itself could be alive in a form that is quite similar to what you know of as life for hundreds and even thousands of years. These two parameters, hundreds and thousands, exist within contexts that are relevant more so in the future than they are to you currently. And yet I offer you these ranges of experience as a way of hypothesizing what it might be like to live for such a duration. For it is within this canvas, with and upon this foundation, that you then know how to dream. The transition that I invite you into now is that you are capable of living a significantly better old age than you have anticipated. The comparison is not to those who have been healthiest from previous generations, but it is to the dream, to the prayer itself of who among your own generation will be deeply healthy. This health exists in relation to the bridge time. I discourage you from identifying it with what lies on the other side, because you are not ready to understand, much less imagine that. Thus, know that is where you're going and focus upon where you are already beginning to breathe.